coffee, we began the conversation on the topic on boundaries. Now, earlier on the show, we tried our best to define what boundaries actually mean. I said that boundaries can be principles. Setting boundaries requires that you are actually really self-aware of who you actually are. Boundaries can also be understanding boundaries can also be understanding your rhythm and setting a rhythm about how you operate and how others are to deal with your personal space and your personal time. So essentially, enabling people to flow with your rhythm. We also stated that boundaries can be seasonal. Some people can do a fast, whether it's religious or personal or a personal form of Lent, where you withdraw from particular activities into yourself so that you can maybe rewire or whatever the case may be. Now, we're going to be taking the conversation on boundaries a step further. Right. So earlier, before the newspaper review, we focused on boundaries from the subjective individual perspective, right? From how, as a person, you set your boundaries and how to set boundaries, why you set boundaries, right? So, but then when it gets into the context of relationships, does that change? So we're asking this morning, should dating or engaged partners visit one another unannounced? Earlier on the show, we stated that, boundaries can be, for instance, an example of a boundary is I don't like people going through my phone, or I don't like people read, oh my goodness. For instance, when you're like in a public transport and maybe like you're texting or whatever the case may be, and this stranger next to you that you do not know from Adam, keeps like they keep like people into the conversation so much so that they probably say something like, this your friend is wicked. Like, are you serious? Like, are you, like boundaries, So for some people, it might be that, I don't like people looking through my phone. Some people can be, I don't like people I do not know hugging me, or even a handshake, whatever the case may be. I know some parts, I know some practices in Islam. For some practices in Islam, for some of the women, you cannot give them a handshake. Or for some of the married women, you can't give a handshake or actually hug them. So that, for instance, is an example of boundaries within religion, right? And for instance, what even that makes that example interesting is that is an example of a married woman. That is an example of a woman in a relationship. But then what happens when boundary is being set by two people in a relationship? So we asked this question, we asked some of our viewers, this question on our views from the net, and we got very interesting comments, which we are going to be getting into this morning. Now, the first one is Oye from Kwara State, answering to the question, should dating or engaged partners visit one another unannounced? Now, Oye is saying, I think visiting one's partner unannounced is a sign of insecurity. Wow. A partner feeling like their partner is cheating on them or doing something that he or she doesn't want the other person to know about. This may have stemmed from trust issues. Some partners would hide behind surprising their partner as a reason for visiting them unannounced. But if you probe them deeply, you realize that it's because they are insecure and want to be aware of their partner's activities. All right, so I laughed a bit because the producer this morning stated that it's good to she might want to surprise her boyfriend or whatever the case may be. Yeah, Mrs. Producer or Miss Producer, yeah, apparently this might be a sign of deep insecurities. Okay, if I'm to personalize the question to myself, right? What's the question? Would I want my partner to come to my house unannounced, to come and see me or visit me unannounced? I wouldn't appreciate that because, you know, I would call you first if I was going to your house. I'll call you first if I was coming to visit, So I would expect the same thing, So for me, that is a boundary. I really enjoy my company. Like I really enjoy my personal company. I enjoy being by myself a lot of the time. I have so much. Ade gives Ade vibes. Basically, I enjoy my company by myself. So if somebody is coming to intrude on the amount of fun that I'm having in my solitude, you have to let me know. Like I have to be prepared. Like don't just like it's so deep for me because even my business partner, right, who happens to be a very close friend of mine, he cannot come to my house unannounced, no matter the emergency it is. You have to call me, So for me personally, if you are coming to visit me, you have to let me know that you are coming, because if you come over, and for me, and this is a thing, like for instance, in a relationship, right, with a person like me, for instance, you don't call, you come over in a period or in a moment where I really want to be by myself, right, and then you come over and I probably make a statement like, you should have called before coming, because at this point I can't turn you back. That would be disrespectful, to turn you back. But you have disrespected my boundary and my personal space by not letting me know, that you're coming. Very interesting. Earlier on the show, we stated that, when dealing with boundaries, your approach is very, very important. Do you understand? Because it's all right to set boundaries, but what is not all right about boundaries is pushing people away. So, this also comes with understanding your rhythm, and when you understand your rhythm so well, the people around you will be forced to flow with your rhythm. So, I don't know about the comments on insecurities, but I see where Oye is coming, when he says people who do that have insecurities, but not all the time, So for some people, it can be a genuine romantic gesture, like, or, maybe, my boyfriend is having a terrible day, okay, I'm going to, as a girlfriend, I'm going to visit this particular person, or whatever the case may be. It might be a form of romantic gesture, but you really need to understand your partner before you are able to, pull off surprises like that, or you just might be the one who is surprised, right? All right, so the next comments that we're going to be taking, Ola from Ibadan. Ola is saying, my own is Sha, don't come empty-handed. If you'll be visiting me unannounced, and she should make sure whatever gifts, the S is intentional, she's holding is whoosh, enough to appease me for coming to visit unannounced. You know what, Ola? You know what, yeah. I agree. If you're coming to visit me unannounced, right, understanding that I enjoy my personal space, make sure you bring, now listen to this order very, very specifically. Amala meta, yes. Begiri, right? Ewedu, as in 3 scoops of amala, right? I want hot begiri, hot ewedu, very sizzling stew, 1 brokoto, 3 beef, maybe pomo, If you can bring that coming to see me unannounced, I might just waver. I might not hold it. I might. It depends on how, good the bakery is. But really, Ola has a point, So Ola has a point, if you're going to visit somebody who doesn't like being visited unannounced, actually take something to appease them. Take a chocolate, take soda, if they like, those kind of drinks. Take, just take something, Food always works. And this is not just for Ade, but seriously, food always, you can't go wrong with food. All right, so the next comment, GT from the United Kingdom. GT is saying, it's actually not a big deal for me though. However, I may not be home, so just text. The surpriser might end up being surprised. LOL, laughing out loud. Really, and this is another reason why, whether they're your partner, whether it's your parents, your sibling, your best friend, whatever the case may be, they might not be home. I mean, like you can't just assume that they're good. Even if it's a person that works from home, call or text. I'm coming over. Are you home? I'm coming. For instance, because for instance, if it's a person who doesn't like who doesn't like being visited unannounced, right? You can ask something like, I'm coming over. Is that okay? Right? But if you don't want to maybe sound like that, excuse me, if you don't want to maybe sound like that, you can just say something like, I'm coming over. Are you home? So by asking, I'm coming over, are you home? They're going to let you know if it's okay. So for instance, a person who probably who is very direct to probably say something like, yes, I'm home, but I want to be left alone but I'm not taking visitors at this time. Something like that. Like let's meet later in the evening, or let's meet tomorrow for lunch, whatever the case may be. Or the person can, or if the person is not direct, quote unquote, the person can lie and say, no, I'm not home, don't come to my house, that kind of thing. But it's actually, so whether it's your parents, whether it's your boyfriend, your fiance, whatever the case may be, your sibling, they might not be home. They might not be. They probably just even stepped out, to what's it called, to get groceries or whatever the case may be. Oh my goodness, I remember this one time, right? I was going to visit, and this was in the United Kingdom. I was going to visit my friend who was in London, and I was coming from Coventry, a 2-hour journey, right? And this was in winter, right? This was in the winter when it was really cold, and I get to his house, and maybe I think, if I remember correctly, I think the fault was from my end. I didn't tell him exactly what time I will be getting into London. And I get into London, I get to the front of his house, and no one's home. And like, I don't even know anyone in the particular area. Like, no one was actually at home. And I'm just stood out there waiting for like, an hour, 30 minutes in the cold, because I didn't communicate properly. So visiting somebody, whether, as far as I'm concerned, whether they're your partner, your sibling, whatever the case may be, your parents, ask them, ask, are you home? Let them know that you're coming, because, you don't want to, like me, you don't want to be stuck in the cold, for instance, in a country like United Kingdom, or even in Lagos, under the heat for so long because you didn't communicate properly. Yeah. Now, the next comments will be taken. Damilola from Ogun State. Damilola is saying, I have nothing against it, but then he can't come unannounced. Me we be a waka waka human being. He go stay outside though. Some people will say, what if he wants to surprise me? Nikini taloni surprise is sonu. I think I said that. Okay, let me, the producer is, taloni surprise is sonu. Okay, so apparently that means what's a rubbish surprise. Damilola is not so this is an example of a woman who does not appreciate unannounced visits. Also, I'm just going to state this out there. Earlier in the studio, before we took this conversation, it seemed like, according to, the vibe in the studio, it seemed like it was men that don't like unannounced visits. It's not true. That's a myth. The fact is, did you know this morning, relationship boundaries? The fact is that it is not gender specific. It's really about who you are as an individual. What do you value as an individual? Do you value a lot of alone time as an individual compared to having people in your space, whether they're your partner or you're not? You do understand? So it's really about who you are as a person. Now, the next comment is from PortHarcourt, and this is coming from Abe. Abe is saying, I don't think it's proper. It shows there is no respect in the relationship. Again, Abe is somebody who values communication. Abe is clearly somebody who values that you ask, who values his personal space and personal time. So you have to ask this person, is it okay for me to come over? And now the word used here says the sentence here is, it shows there is no respect in the relationship. For a relationship with Abe, coming unannounced is a show of disrespect. Now, if you are Abe's partner, you should know this. And that is really the point this morning. You should know this. Now, for instance, if you leave Abe and you start dating someone else, and this particular person actually likes unannounced visits, all those unannounced surprise visits you wanted to do with Abe, do it with this person. This particular thing, this comment on unannounced visits is really relationship and person specific. There is no particular black and white rule, to say that, oh, it is disrespectful. To me, it's not disrespectful. It's more annoying. Like, it's not like, yeah, I don't find it disrespectful when it comes to my house unannounced. It's annoying because I don't want you in my space. Now you're in my space. Do you understand? So, for another person, it might be disrespectful. For another person, it might be like they love it. They love it when, they find it very romantic. They appreciate when they see their partner randomly. If you're my partner, I don't want to see you randomly. I want to see you as planned. Yes. All right. So the last comment we'll take on this question this morning is John from Lagos. John says, well, it depends on the occasion. She might have the best intention of surprising me, so I can't fault her for that. But if it's becoming a regular thing, it might be a problem because I won't appreciate that she keeps showing up unannounced. Actually, excuse me, John has a very good point here. There are particular times when your partner will probably surprise visit you, and you're like, oh, actually, you know what? You brought amala this time, two brokoto instead of one. You know what? Yeah. I like this style. Or instead of amala, she brings unkobi. You know what? Okay, I forgive you this time. But then if it becomes like a regular thing, and sometimes there's no food, sometimes there's not even water, you have to tell your partner, yes, madam, or Mr. Man, please, you need to step back a bit. But, in all seriousness of the matter, understanding that there are particular times, understanding your partner will make you understand that there are the particular times where you can actually visit them unannounced, and then you would understand that this isn't an every some people, they don't tell their their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their fiance, whatever the case may be, that I'm coming over, and that is the modus operandi quote unquote of that particular relationship. There is no rule book. There's no black and white, as far as I'm concerned, there's no black and white rule of how these things should actually go. Life, I really realized that, I've really learned that anything to do with, relationships, with love, with boundaries, principles, things like this, right? This is really people specific, and in this particular instance, it's couple specific. How do you want your relationship to be? What foundation do you want your relationship to be built on? These are the kinds of things that you actually state that you actually state and you implement in your relationship, in your engagement with this person before marriage, because this really sets the precedence, of what your marriage will be like. So it's very important, right? That I would say that it's very important before you get into marriage that you understand your partner's needs and your wants. You understand your partner's principles. You understand your partner's boundaries, right? Because we had a guest, Cover Tea Coffee, a while ago, please excuse me, we had a guest, excuse me, we had a guest called or tea or coffee a while ago, and he gave us a very wonderful definition and explanation of what marriage is when he said that marriage is actually two nations coming together to become one. If you know anything about nations, about nations, what that means is that, for instance, right, Nigeria has a particular culture. Ghana has a particular culture. Though they are side by side each other, they are very separate countries. If they decide to come together as one, there's going to be a lot of compromises. There's going to be a lot of conversation. For instance, conversations on trade, conversations on, religion, conversations on culture, and things, and these kind of things, right? So it's important that you think of yourself as a nation meeting another nation when the conversation of marriage begins to come up. You need to understand what is valued in that nation. All right, what are their values? What are their principles? What are their boundaries? And in understanding the other nation's values, principles, and boundaries, what are me as a nation, what are my values? What are my principles? What are my boundaries? Can we make it work? These are the kind of conversations you need to have before getting into a marriage with somebody. Now, we're going to further this conversation with a guest interview that we're going to be playing for you this morning, in name and person of Josephine Chukwuemeka. She's a coach. She's actually known as Coach Josie. She's a relationship coach. She has an extensive experience as a visionary at Love Life with Josie that helps singles and married people get the best out of their relationships and their marriage. She passionately teaches singles how to clarify conviction, create connection, understand compatibility, and get committed in a lifelong relationship of marriage. Now, if you think that, I did not give the best relationship advice, we have Coach Josie for you this morning. That will be doing just that. Stay tuned.
Good morning there. How are you doing today? My name is Josephine Chukwuemeka and I am a relationship coach. Today we're talking about boundaries and I'll be answering a few questions. Boundaries are very important. Generally, boundaries are like laws or rules that guard human beings. Now, people set boundaries because they are individuals, and every individual has their expectations, have their plans and aspirations, and have their core values, have the things they want to achieve, and have their way of life and thinking. Therefore, accommodating another individual in your life and your space, you need to ensure that this person fully understands you and is able to go along with you. So to protect their individuality, that is why people basically set boundaries for themselves in relationships, to uphold their values too, their core values, and to gain respect. Every human being is to be respected because they are humans first. They have their likes and dislikes, and they have things that they hold dear to themselves. So in getting into a relationship, you have a significant other or your partner who should understand who you are to a large extent so that they can live life with you, learn to love you, and share the same space with you in peace and understanding. It is important that you don't lose your individuality in the name of having a relationship. Having your boundaries also, I want to look at it from the point of self-discipline. Every human being should have a level of self-discipline. Self-discipline tells you what you ought to do, when you ought to do it, what you can take, what you will never bargain for, and all the rest of it. So it's important to set boundaries in their relationships, and boundaries help to guide them towards where they're going to in life. This question is quite dicey, and I'll give two answers to it: yes and no, because we can't give a straight jacket answer to this. Should partners visit one another unannounced? No, because you are dealing with another human being who probably would not be around, who probably may be too busy to give you full attention, and who probably would not want to be disturbed in a particular thing he or she is doing. I mean, whatever it may be. So that is a reason you shouldn't visit unannounced, so that you don't get disappointed. You don't get there and oh, he or she is not around. You don't get there and oh, he or she cannot give you full attention. You don't get there and he or she is not disposed to have you for whatever reason. Now, the other side is yes, because I mean, we shouldn't also be too rigid. That's the word. We shouldn't be too rigid in dealing with such issues. I mean, there could be a surprise visit, maybe in the area I want to drop in and bring pizza or ice cream to share some time together. For that kind of visit, you don't necessarily have to make a call. You just have to go with your hopes high that he or she will be home and ready to receive you, except in a situation where the other partner has expressly told you, your partner has expressly told you, I don't want you to come without putting a call through first, or putting a text message, or both of us agreeing that you would come over. If that has been discussed prior to that visit, then I think you should respect your partner's wish and don't visit without pre-informing your partner. Boundaries of, for example, don't get physical with me. Don't get physical with me. Here, I mean, no physical abuse, no touching, or no pecking, nothing in a way to express erotic love physically. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because some people don't want that in their relationship. They would want to express love in any other way than that. And if they say that they don't want that, then they actually don't want it, and it should be respected. Physical abuse, I mean, even without communicating that boundary to your partner, I don't think, I mean, any right-thinking person loves someone else. You shouldn't abuse the person physically. So that's a no-no. That's an example of a boundary. Okay, so you don't get physical with me, no hitting, no abuse of any sort. Verbal abuse, yes, you can say all the sweet things, but you don't abuse me verbally. You don't talk down on me. It gets to me and I won't take that. That is a part you should not cross. Okay? The use of your devices, maybe your laptop or your phones, that is a boundary that a partner should not cross to an extent. Now I'll explain. So both of you are dating, and I don't know for how long you've been dating or your experiences. It's okay if your partner expressly permits you to pick calls or maybe go through information on their phones or devices. But if your partner doesn't expressly give you that permission, I think that you should respect your partner's personal space as regards using his or her devices. Yes, it's very, very important. Also, the boundary of control. You shouldn't control what your partner decides on doing or not doing. Okay, so take for example, your partner believes that he should do something or he wants to do something because he believes in an idea, he wants to support a cause and all of that. You shouldn't insist that the person goes back on their decision just because it doesn't go down well with you. I mean, that is selfish. And in a love relationship, you are not there for selfishness. You are there to help each other become better and walk down the aisle if you so desire, if your relationship works out the way you want it to. So you're not supposed to impose your ideas or insist on it. Yes, you can advise. Yes, you can give advice when it is sorted for, when it is needed, or when you just think you should, but you should not impose, insist that your partner does something. When I mean something, I don't necessarily mean something for you. I mean does something that is beyond what they would naturally want to do, and then they are constrained to do it just to please you. No, I don't think that is a good one. Well, this question may look like it has a direct answer of, oh, at the beginning of the relationship. However, it's not outrightly at the beginning, and I'll explain. So you meet a guy or a girl, and then you seem to like the person, and you go out on 1 or 2 dates and have fun, spend time together, talk about your likes and dislikes and all of that. And you seem to have an affinity for this person. You seem to have a drawing towards this person. You don't necessarily at that point begin to set boundaries. So that's why I said it's not necessarily at the beginning. However, this person who is now seeming to have a place in your heart, when you both discuss and want to get involved more personally, when you now say, okay, fine, I like you, you like me, I want us to have a relationship. At that point, it is important that you discuss your boundaries. Okay, so in this relationship, this is what I can take, what I cannot take. I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't want you to do this to me, and all of that. Here, also, along the line in your relationship, you could discover some things that are a turn off for you, and you could still have that conversation with your partner and say, okay, fine, I know I said this at the beginning, I didn't say this part. This is necessary because, you want to ensure that on your part, you are doing your best to be your best with this person. So you communicate your expectations, you communicate the things that turn you off, so that the person doesn't intentionally keep hurting you or keep crossing into your personal space and you feel offended. So at the beginning, yes. Along the line within the relationship, it's still okay to talk about boundaries, but it's important to set it out first, especially with your core values. Well, it is true to an extent, and somehow it's not so true. You see, in every relationship, there is a very important ingredient that mustn't be missing, and that is what we call trust. Take it for free. If you don't trust him or trust her, you have no business in that relationship. Trust can be broken, yes, and it can be rebuilt, but it takes a long time to rebuild trust, and it is not easy rebuilding broken trust. So it's better you don't even break the trust in the relationship in the first instance. So if you trust your partner, if you don't think your partner will cheat on you, and why am I saying this? I'm saying this because because sometimes some people come into relationships with baggages from their past relationships. So because their ex did this, they just automatically think that the current guy or girl will be like their ex. No. For you to be in a relationship and thrive and enjoy yourself, you need to come in whole without baggages. You need to be sure that you were done with the previous person and everything that had to do with that person, and don't step into a new relationship thinking that your new guy or girl is like your ex. That is the bottom line of most issues in relationships. So if you come in thinking that, for example, oh, Ade will be like Toby, arbitrary, this is an example, and then you come in like Ade will be like Toby, and then you come in and Ade wants to be all he is to you, to show you that you're loved, but your heart and your mind still thinks like, oh, what if he's like Toby? What if he's like Toby? You would keep not trusting Ade to be the best. You would keep suspecting Ade, who is probably being sincere and wants to shower all his love to you, and you will not enjoy the relationship. So live in the moment. Live in the moment. Whoever you are with, be with the person, don't compare. And also, this issue of walking on eggshells, the flip side is, if you have nothing to hide, then I mean, why set maybe unrealistic boundaries and all of that? Yes, there are some boundaries that are actually very, very, very unrealistic in relationships. I mean, so if you set this much boundaries, then how am I different from your other friends? Well, I won't go into that because it's not within the scope, as it were. So yes, it's also important that you check your motive. Check your motive. So why am I asking her not to visit me unannounced, for example? Is it because I have my eyes on Titi, or I'm hitting on someone else, or I'm actually double dating? Why am I asking him not to visit me? Is it because, oh, I'm still with my parents and they would have it, so I want to respect my parents' space? Yes, which is very, very good and respectful of you. Or is it just because you're not proud of him, or you don't want your mom to know you're dating the guy? Or I mean, what are your reasons? And let me just say this, that if you are not comfortable with the boundaries that are being set for you by your partner, you can discuss it. It's up for discussion. If you discuss it and you don't seem to have a headway, don't suffer in that relationship. It's best for you to walk out, take a walk, and be with whoever you think will give you the best of love and affection that you'd want in a relationship. Number one, conversations. I've said it a lot of times in the past few minutes. Have honest conversations. You are adults, I expect. So sit down and talk. You see, someone once said that assumptions is the lowest form of knowledge. So don't assume that, oh, he should know. Don't assume that, oh, he should. Please talk about it. You have an expectation of him or of her. Discuss it. Sit down. Can we go out? Yeah. You know, most times people go out on dates and they take the ice cream, see the movies, take the lovely pictures, pout, post on social media, pepper them and all of that, but they don't discuss important things to the relationship. And that's why they keep having issues over and again. That's why they keep comparing themselves to their friends. That's why they keep feeling like they're not making a headway or going somewhere in that relationship, because they have not sat down to discuss pertinent issues that would help both parties. So have a conversation. Put your cards on the table. Be honest with this person, because I mean, you actually love him or love her, and you're supposed to be going somewhere. I don't expect that you'll be dating for fun, as long as you're old enough to understand what dating is. But if you're dating for fun, well, all good. But I believe that you would want to date and see good results and grow and, you know, make the right decisions for yourself. So yes, have honest conversations. Number two, look at your core values. What are your core values? What is important to you? What values do you hold dear in life? So, for example, my core value is honesty. and I can't deal with a lying partner. So that is so basic for me. The moment you're lying to me, I'm done. I'm done, because I can't trust you, and if I can't trust you, I can't be myself with you. I'll keep suspecting you, and I'm not going to enjoy myself in that relationship, and I'm not going to give you my best. So what is the point? Your core values may not be 100% the same, but they have to be similar, and your partner has to respect your core values. If your partner doesn't respect your core values, or you don't respect your partner's core values, then I don't even think you should have a relationship of that sort in the first instance. And finally, number 3, be honest and be sincere. You see, honesty and sincerity are seeds that are sown and are reaped. Exactly. If you're honest and sincere, your partner will be honest and sincere with you. If you're not honest and sincere, your partner will not be honest and sincere with you. That is it. Why are you in? What do you want out of this? If you want someone who wants sex every day, for example, and one of your core values is that, oh, I'm not going to have sex till I get married, I'm going to be celibate, you can't be in that relationship. You call it off, because this your partner will keep saying, okay, you don't want it, I know you don't want it, I won't give it, you don't want it, I won't give it, but I'll get it elsewhere. How does that even add up? And then you keep, oh, feeling, he's sleeping with her, I can't let him sleep with me, and all of that. It becomes complicated. You hurt yourself. So be honest. Lay your cards on the table. Tell yourself the truth. Know where you're going, and it will help you set the right boundaries in your relationship. Thank you.
That was Coach Josie giving us some really insightful relationship advice on the conversation on boundaries that we have just concluded on tea or coffee this morning. We really hope that you're able to learn something from that. I certainly did. And, the most important lesson from that video is that, from the example given, Ade is a loving guy. That should be your number one takeaway from that. Well, seriously, it's very important that you understand who you're dating, respect your boundaries, your partner's boundaries, and state your expectations. I found that point, very, very important in the interview with Coach Josie that just concluded. Now, if you've not followed High Impact on social media, now is a perfect time to do so. At High Impact TV, or alternatively High Impact TV UK. You can also, subscribe to our YouTube page at High-Impact TV. Catch up on all of our interviews, very insightful, educative, informative conversations that Tea or Coffee always promises to deliver, and we never fail. And now you can also follow us on our Instagram at Watch Tea or Coffee. Now, if you want to know what goes on behind the scenes, you want to see some of our producers, you need to follow and keep up to date with us on Instagram at Watch Tea or Coffee.